Hello everybody, it's Natalie. Hope everyone's doing well. It is Monday, March 31st, 2025. I just wanted to do my weekly update, as I like to do, just to tell you all how my week is going. So if you notice, I did color my hair a cherry red. It was a hair dye that was in my cabinet from when my mom was staying here. So I decided to color it, like a cherry red, color. So in my last vlog, I talked about my mother's ex-boyfriend dying. Well, so I wanna, change that, a little bit because I did get an update. So he did get the autopsy. He had his autopsy done last week, I think. And, apparently he did not die of a heart attack, as initially thought. So apparently, I think he had, like, choked on water or something, and it was more like a drowning kind of thing. Like, I think, from what I think happened was he, like, consumed water or something like that when he was, like, deep down, diving. And, deep diving, and I think that the water just got, maybe he got too much water in the diving tank. It was scuba diving, so, but no, he did not die from a heart attack as initially thought. And so unfortunately I feel like it was a death that could have been prevented. But yeah, and sadly, you know, it could have been prevented, but sadly he passed away, and it really made me sad for a few days, but I've recovered from the grief and everything. Again and again, I take grief pretty well in most cases. Like, I usually just feel a sense of, like, dread and, like, feeling sad and everything when like, I'm grieving the loss, or I get the news that somebody passed away. But I usually try, like I said, I usually try to occupy myself with things. Like, I'm usually the person that, you know, goes out and does things. Like, the day after my friend died, I went for a walk on Bowling Creek, which is a park in Chapel Hill that I used to walk on. And, so yeah. And also, last week I was talking about that I was gonna post about, like, my breakup with my ex and everything, and, I decided to not do, a lot of the videos, just about that whole breakup, just because, like, I feel like I need to be focusing more on the past. I mean, not the past, my bad, like, the future and happy stuff, and I think the way I explained it was really not the best way, but I just want to say that, you know, with how sad my breakup was and how devastated I was, basically, you know, having Tourette syndrome, I just wanted to explain, like, having Tourette syndrome, I feel like for me, and having, like, dysregulation issues with, or, like, mood regulation issues, which I think is a part of ASD. I think that's partly what got me into trouble with the law after I got mad with threatening my ex, because I just got, like, so angry because I was really upset, and I didn't know how to control my anger and sadness, and a lot of people are going to judge people and say, well, you know, threatening people is not okay, you blah, 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 but it's like, and which is true, threatening people is not okay. And that's the biggest thing that I learned about my whole thing was, you know, with the whole breakup with my ex and everything, you know, just getting really angry and, you know, threatening to harm him, was not okay, and I learned my lesson. And again, I think I was 22 when I went to jail for that night. Or no, I was 23. And 23 and a half. And so you know, and I just want to say that, you know, with the whole breakup that I went through with my ex, like, basically, I just was so upset that I didn't know how to control my anger. When it came to my ex, and I was like really sad and devastated that he had broken up with me when I was trying to work things out. And I think for me, I don't always have the best communication skills when it comes to, you know, when I'm angry at somebody, and I feel like I should have just gotten off social media. And I just want to say that, like, you know, yes, I shouldn't have threatened my ex, and I didn't do it because I wanted revenge. I basically, again, my Tourette syndrome causes a lot of impulsive outbursts and explosive outbursts, and it's like if I can't have something, or if I get upset over something, I will you know, I'll say something like, I will literally say the meanest thing on the planet. Like, I'll say, oh, you know, I'll get so angry I want to kill somebody, but I really don't mean that. It's just one of these thoughts that comes into my head. And, you know, but also, like, my ex also had schizophrenia, and I think he actually legitimately thought that I was gonna hurt him, but then, I guess after that, like, somebody was telling me that, like, he wanted revenge against me or something. But, and so I feel like my Tourette syndrome is what really got in the way of me, like, saying these awful things, to, like, my ex, because I was mad that he broke up with me. But, I'm not gonna discuss anything else that happened, but ultimately, my charges got dropped from the whole communicating threats thing, and I haven't talked to my ex, since before that case even happened. And I just want to say that, you know, I don't blame my disability at all, on, you know, on what happened. And, you know, I took full responsibility, and going to jail for that was a really hard thing, and it was something that I would never wish on anybody. And I feel like for us, people with disabilities and Tourette syndrome especially, you know, people with Tourette syndrome, a lot of those people tend to say things like, you know, like, for example, a lot of people I've seen with Tourette syndrome at the airport, like on TV shows and stuff, they'll say, oh, I have a gun, or bomb, I have a bomb. You know, they'll say those things. And, you know, with people that have you know, and there's plenty of people that have gotten mad at an ex where they were like, oh, I don't like that person, I'm so mad I want to kill them, but you don't actually mean you're gonna go out and do it, even if you say it. But that, again, that is why we need to be so careful with what we say, because threatening people is not okay, but also I understand why people do get mad and threaten someone if somebody's been, like, getting them to the point of where they're just so, like, Urgh. And, so for me personally, like, I've been very nervous about dating again, because, like, I feel like, well, if I date a guy, like, what is he gonna think of me with the whole ex situation? And for me, I feel like honesty is the best policy, and I agree with that 100%. I think it's good to be, like, forthcoming with, somebody that you're dating, or, you know, and just tell them about, like, the thing that happened. But I also wanted to say as well that a lot of people, you know, I've seen domestic violence and much worse situations than what I went through. Like, there have literally been exes that have actually gone out and taken out the threat and actually killed somebody. And more or less it happens more with women being killed by the ex-boyfriends more so than the men being killed by their ex-girlfriends, but it has happened. But it never got to that point with me, and it never will ever. I couldn't even imagine that. And because I'm thinking to myself, you know, why would you go out and kill somebody just because they dumped you? You know, I think it's really, like, it's like, you know what, there's so many, you know, at the end of the day, I would tell people, you know, there's probably somebody much better suited for you out there than that what that person put you through. But I also want to say that I forgive my ex for how, you know, what happened and everything. And, like, you know, I'm really happy for him. Sorry, I saw something on my TV, a Minecraft car, what? So, you know, my ex is married and has a wife and a kid now, and lives like an hour and a half from me. But, like, I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for him and his new wife and child, and I think, you know, I'm at the point now where I don't even want to hold any more hate or, like, any dislike or hurt towards somebody, because as a Christian, we're taught to forgive, and I feel like I believe that, you know, just a few years ago, I think about 2 years ago, is when I finally decided to forgive my ex for what he put me through. And for, you know, with the whole jail thing, and, you know, forgiving him for anything that I caused in the relationship and everything. And I feel like that if I was not so angry and vindictive, I feel like I would have been able to be friends with him. But if he didn't want to be friends, then I would totally respect that decision. But at the end of the day, I'm feeling like, you know, this whole jail thing definitely taught me a big lesson, and while it was a really sad and terrifying experience, I did learn something. And, you know, and I know there's a lot of other women out there that have been in abusive relationships that also did end up in jail or arrested. And I think that, you know, we need to be more kind to people as well. Like, we need to be more, you know, we need to be more kind to people. We need to listen to their stories and understand their situation instead of passing on judgment and being like, well, you got in jail because you were really mean, vindictive, blah, blah, blah. And that's not what I was about. Again, you have to really talk to the person and just get their side of the story and, like, just understand how their brain works and think, you know. And a lot of these people that make these death threats to people, you know, and everything, I feel like, you know, a lot of the times there's something deep inside the person that is going on with them mentally. And for me personally, I just, you know, when I met my ex, I was so, like, happy, you know, and, like, I was really hopeful because I had been single for 4.5 years from my first ex-boyfriend that was a high school relationship. And, you know, I just wanted a man to love me, basically, because I had never really been in love before. And, being on the spectrum, it's really hard for, you know, for me to really, like, figure out relationships and what I want out of a relationship. And, you know. And I mean, my ex and I met at Harris Teeter, and, I really liked him. And in the very beginning, I feel like things are really good, and, I thought he was the one, and I thought I was gonna marry him. Sorry if I'm itching my face a lot because, and my nose, I'm sorry. I have like really, I think it's the pollen or something is making me itch. So I apologize if I'm like scratching my face a lot. Because it's just that the pollen today where I live is just insane. But anyway, so, and I feel like, I took responsibility for the part I played in the breakup and everything, but I really hope that my ex does forgive me, for how I made him feel, because there was a lot of times where I just, like, I'm not gonna get into many details, where I would be, like, saying things on social media about him, and I later realized that that's not right, but I also felt like I wasn't getting the help that I needed, and, kind of, I feel like social media is very toxic nowadays. All it is really political stuff and people arguing about each other, and they can't agree to disagree. And then, I'm quite lonely, so, with my ex and I, it was like, I felt like I just needed an outlet, and I didn't have that proper outlet to like talk to someone about how I was feeling, and then like basically later that year, like a lot of, and few years after that, like everybody was like getting into relationships, and like my sister got engaged and got married, and I felt really bad because like I've been single for almost 7 years, and and sometimes I still get jealous a little bit, like, why can I not find the right person? And sometimes I'm not looking at, sometimes people aren't looking in the right places, but, you know, and it's hard to date, especially this day and age, like, every couple you see together, they may not be happy, you don't know, they might be breaking up tomorrow, they might be going through a divorce, who knows, but even if they are happy, they're probably going through issues, like maybe one of them has a terminally ill parent, maybe, maybe maybe one of them lost a job and they're upset, anything. And, so that's what I'm trying to remember. And, I've had times where, like, I would literally tell myself that I wasn't pretty, that I wasn't worth it. There were times where I would even, like, strangle myself, or like say that I was gonna kill myself even when I didn't, kind of like with the jail stay thing, like when I threatened my ex, like saying I want to do that, but then it's like I don't actually want to go out and do that to him, it's like that with the threatening to harm yourself. It's like I don't want to do that, but it's like I want the pain to end, if that makes sense to anybody watching this. And again, I feel like I feel like there's something inherently not right with somebody if they actually go out and take out a threat to kill somebody, if they get so angry. And I'm not really sure how that works, but versus what I did, there are so many much worse things that people have been in jail for. Like, I've seen the worst of domestic violence in relationships, and of like going to a person's workplace and like, stalking them in the car. I never did anything like that, but there are exes that will be very vindictive and that will do that. And, but on the other hand, like, you just, it's really sad and stuff about, with relationships and stuff, and it's, it's hard. So, and at this point, I'm really just, I'm going back to the Catholic Church and everything, and I'm trying to get back into RCIA. I've just been so busy, I haven't been able to get back to it recently. And then, and it's hard, and my plan is I basically want to find a I'm basically at the point now where I want to date to marry, like, I don't want to go through another breakup again. I cannot afford to go through another breakup again. It was because this past breakup that I have was just so, this past breakup that I had was just so heartbreaking, and it just broke me so much. And, you know, because I was really hopeful that we were going to get married, and my ex led me to believe that. But, you know, again, you know, we were just different people at the end of the day. And as sad as it was that it ended the way it did, I definitely learned something from this relationship. But, you know, you just have to be, I remind myself, you just have to be careful with what you say or who you talk to, because not everybody is your friend, and you just have to be very mindful. But yeah, I basically just want to let people understand on this platform that me having Tourette syndrome causes me to have these outbursts and get angry. Sometimes I have really bad explosive outbursts of anger where I'll just get mad if somebody does something, or if, you know, but a lot of people with Tourette syndrome also say derogatory things or threatening stuff that they don't even intend to act on. And with me, I always get these feelings of guilt when I have thoughts about something bad, or I have guilt after doing something. And that's a good thing, because my mom taught me this. She said, if you feel guilt, it means you care, because if you didn't feel guilt, it means you wouldn't care. And I felt a lot of guilt after, you know, with the whole thing with my ex and everything. And I think that, you know, I did feel a lot of guilt, you know, for what happened. But, you know, I also have to realize that, you know, I can't go back to the past now. I just have to learn from the experience and then go on with, you know, move on with your life. And at this point, I feel like, you know, I've forgiven my ex for what he did, and I feel I don't have any more hatred towards him anymore. I've let him go. I want to let him go. And, you know, and just, you know, don't hate these people. Just, you know, pray for them. That's what I've been doing. I've been literally praying for these people, that have hurt me. And I also wanted to say as well is that I actually thank my ex for leading me to Christ, because when we first met, he was devoutly Christian, but hadn't gone back to church in a while. And me, I had grown up in an non-religious household. Mom's an atheist, my sister's an atheist. My dad just not really a believer, but he's more spiritual. And I think he believes in God, but not like the whole Trinity thing, unlike me, what I believe is like Jesus, Son of God, blah, blah. Was born again, rose again, all that. But I really do thank my ex for leading me to Christ, and I feel like God was really leading me to Christ during this whole time. And, but just, I think God just didn't want me to be with my ex, and I got this inkling anxiety whenever I would be around my ex. It's like, why am I not feeling good around this guy when I'm going to church and I'm doing everything, even though I feel God's presence and everything? But then I realized that it's just like, this isn't the man that God has had, that I'm meant to be with. This is not the guy that God has shown me that I'm meant to be with the rest of my life, till death do us part. And so basically, I just realize now that, you know, and it's not a bad thing. And I feel like the woman that my ex is married to now, I believe completely in my heart that they were meant to be together. I guess it just took a little bit of a long time, but I truly believe in my heart that my ex was meant to be with the woman that he is with now. And I've really learned a lot, and I just want to again let people know that I'm not a terrible, evil, vindictive, manipulative person. I'm not the same person as I was 6 years ago. And I realize now that, you know, what I did was wrong. How I got myself in jail with the whole ex thing was wrong. But I feel like I learned my lesson. And the fact is, what's most important is that I learned something from it. And I haven't been to jail since, and I don't plan on going back. But I just feel like I have changed a lot since then, and even though jail was horrible, it did teach me a lesson, but it also taught me a life lesson, and a life lesson that I can apply to other people's lives from what I've experienced. And, you know, I also want to let people know that if a man tries to change you into something that you're not, that is not the right person that you're meant to be with. And I feel like that's what happened in me and my ex's relationship is, you know, he tried to, I think he wanted me to really believe what he believed in, and he wasn't gonna propose to me, according to a friend, unless I converted. And so I feel like, I felt like that just wasn't genuine because, you know, I didn't want to be something that I wasn't, but then I realized that God doesn't want me to be with my ex. He wants me to be with somebody else. And, you know, and so I feel like I came out of this breakup and this whole jail stay a new person. And it took a few years, and I feel like, you know, 6 years later, I feel like I've really changed who I am and how I've viewed the world and everything, and, you know, realizing that what I did was wrong and not to do it again. So that's what it all comes down to. And I know it's very hard, and, you know, if anybody has gone through an experience like this before, the thing that I'm talking about, like, you know, you threatened an ex because you got so mad, and then you went through a court case, you know, let me know, because I've been through that before. But also, I also want to point out as well that, you know, and I'm not blaming my ex for everything, because I wasn't a saint either, but he also wasn't a saint either. Like, I feel like he didn't tell me, you know, why he was upset. Like, according to friends, he would, like, tell them that, like, oh, I was having an affair with my good male friend because we went to the fair once. And he was trying, I think my ex was making me feel bad. He wouldn't like me having male friends, and I feel like, in a way, he was trying to hurt me, or he wanted me to hurt. So I think that's also partly why he had me land in jail in a way. It was, you know, to hurt me in that way, emotionally, like emotionally manipulated. I feel like I was emotionally manipulated, but I think we were also both kind of manipulative towards each other. But again, I think that, you know, sometimes relationships were just not meant to work out, and, you know, your family and friends are not going to hate you just because you went to jail for that, you know, and they shouldn't, like, you know, and if people don't want to be your friend, or if people don't want to be in your life because you made a small mistake of going to jail and making a threat, then that's on them. And you can't control how people react to things all the time, and, you know, what people decide to do. And so, in concluding this video, again, I just want to say that, you know, I just wanted to let people know my side of the story, and that, you know, what I did was wrong, and I'll never do it again. And I just gotta realize that making threats is not right at all. But I can also understand sometimes people's actions get them so riled up or provoked that a person will go out and say something. You know, get mad. And that's the thing with Tourette syndrome. Like, with me, my Tourette's contributes to how I react to things and get mad. And I think I was just so upset and angry with my ex leaving me, and I was angry because I was also angry at myself, because I felt like if I had done something, or if I hadn't done something, things would have worked out. But ultimately, in the long run, I don't think our relationship would have worked out. Plus, he was like 8 years older than me, and I feel like now I need a guy that's a little bit older than me by not that much, or somebody slightly younger than me. And to be honest, I like younger guys now. So, but yeah. Anyway, I just hope, you know, I wanted to just conclude this video, that, you know, that was really just my breakup story, and I don't really want to go into many details about it, but, I just wanted to tell people that, you know, I'm not the evil, vindictive person that some people have planned me out, have shown me to be or something, and it's like, you know, sometimes you need to hear both sides of a story, and, go to the other side, so, yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about in my next, video, but I'm gonna definitely be focusing more, like, on my faith story and, like, you know, my autism journey and just, like, you know, my life and everything, but, like, nothing to do with breakups anymore. This is, like, the only video I'll be talking about, because I feel like I just need to move on with my life and not focus on the past anymore, and just, you know, let my ex go, let him go, just be happy for him, wish him well. And that's all I'm gonna say about that is, you know, I wish my ex well. I wish him all the best. I hope him and his wife and child have a great life and prosper and, yeah, the way God intended it to be. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.